The last thing my grandmother said to me wasn't "I love you" or "goodbye." It was "check the safety deposit box, baby girl. The house is yours. It always was." My name is Selah, and I spent 3 months watching the strongest woman I'd ever known waste away to nothing while my family acted like she was already dead. Grandma Clara had raised me when my mother couldn't be bothered, taught me to read when the schools failed me, and held my hand through every heartbreak my 35 years had thrown at me. So when the cancer came, I was the one who moved in. I was the one who learned to work her oxygen machine at 3 a.m. I was the one who held her hand while she threw up everything she tried to eat. "You don't have to do this alone," my best friend Cora kept telling me. "Where's your family?" Where indeed? My mother Madison showed up twice in 3 months, both times to complain about the smell of the medicine or to suggest we just put her somewhere comfortable. My cousin Rachel sent a fruit basket with a card that read, "Thinking of you," in her perfect real estate agent handwriting, then never called again. The day Clara died, I was reading to her from an old poetry book she loved. Her breathing had been getting shallower all morning, and the hospice nurse had warned me it was close. I was in the middle of a Robert Frost poem when her hand squeezed mine. "The key," she whispered so quiet I almost missed it. "Safety deposit box. First National. Everything you need is there." I leaned closer. "Grandma, what? Promise me." Her eyes were still sharp, even as everything else was failing. "Promise me you'll go there first before you tell anyone." "I promise." She smiled then, the first real smile I'd seen in weeks. "Good girl. You were always my good girl." She was gone 20 minutes later. I called the hospice nurse first, then the funeral home. I sat with Clara's body until they came, holding her hand and trying to process that the only person who'd ever really seen me was gone. When I finally called my mother, she answered on the fourth ring. "Oh." Madison's voice was flat. "Well, I suppose that's that. Did she suffer?" "No, she went peacefully." "Good. I'll call Rachel and start making arrangements. The funeral home will need to know about the house sale." I blinked. "Well, what house sale?" "Selah, honestly, you can't be surprised by this. The house goes to Rachel, obviously. She's got the family, the stability. You can't even keep a man, sweetheart. What would you do with a four-bedroom house?" The words hit like a slap, but I kept my voice steady. "I see. Rachel's already been by to look at it. She thinks it'll need some work, but the bones are good. You'll need to clear out your things, of course, but take your time. A week or two should be fine." I hung up without saying goodbye. The funeral was a circus. Rachel arrived in a black dress that probably cost more than my car, dabbing at dry eyes with a lace handkerchief. She hugged me with the enthusiasm of someone greeting a distant acquaintance. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said, loud enough for others to hear. "I know how close you two were. It must be so hard, losing well, your only real family connection." Her husband Judah stood behind her, checking his phone. Their two kids were dressed like they were going to church, not a funeral. "The house is going to need so much work," Rachel continued, still holding my hands. "But don't worry about any of that. I'll handle everything. You just focus on, well, whatever it is you do." I smiled and nodded and played the grieving granddaughter while inside, something cold and sharp was crystallizing in my chest. After the service, after the casseroles and condolences and fake tears, I drove to First National Bank. The safety deposit box key was exactly where Clara had said it would be, taped under her jewelry box. My hands shook as I turned it in the lock. Inside were documents, legal papers, and I drew an envelope marked "For when they betray you" in Clara's careful handwriting. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a phone number and a note. "Call Lucas. He's been waiting." I sat in my car in the bank parking lot and dialed the number. A man answered on the second ring. "Lucas George, attorney at law." "This is Selah, Clara's granddaughter. She told me to call you." "Ah, Selah, I've been expecting your call. I'm very sorry for your loss." Clara was a remarkable woman. "Thank you. She left me your number." "She said you'd been waiting?" "Indeed I have. We need to meet. There are some things about your grandmother's will that your family doesn't know yet, things that are going to change everything." 2 weeks later, Rachel threw a barbecue at her new house, my grandmother's house. The invitation came via text. Celebrating new beginnings. Come see what we've done with the place. 2 p.m. Saturday. I stared at that message for a full minute before responding. Wouldn't miss it. The yard was full of people I barely recognized. Rachel's real estate friends, some neighbors, a few distant relatives who'd crawled out of the woodwork now that there was free food and gossip to be had. Rachel had already started redecorating. Clara's rose garden was gone, replaced with some trendy succulent arrangement that probably cost more than I made in a month. Selah! Rachel's voice carried across the yard like nails on a chalkboard. You made it! Come see what we've done with the kitchen! I followed her inside, past the living room where Clara's antique furniture had been replaced with stark white leather. The kitchen was unrecognizable, all granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. Isn't it gorgeous? Rachel spun around with her arms outstretched. We gutted the whole thing. That old country kitchen was so dated. It was Clara's favorite room, I said quietly. Oh, I know, but you have to think about resale value. This adds at least 40,000 to the property. She leaned against the new island. I'm thinking of flipping it, actually. The market's so hot right now. My mother appeared in the doorway, wine glass already half empty. Rachel's got such an eye for these things. Much better than letting the place sit empty while someone figures out what to do with it. Or worse, Rachel added with a laugh, letting it fall apart because someone can't afford the upkeep. They weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, Judah's voice boomed from the backyard, if I could have everyone's attention. We filed outside where Judah stood on Clara's old porch, holding a beer like a microphone. I just want to thank everyone for coming out today to celebrate Rachel's inheritance of this beautiful family home. It means so much to have your support as we start this new chapter. Scattered applause. Someone whooped. And of course, Judah continued, we want to thank Selah for taking such good care of Grandma Clara in her final months. That couldn't have been easy, and we're all grateful you were willing to do what needed to be done. More applause, pitying looks in my direction. I smiled and nodded like a good little caregiver who knew her place. Now, who wants to see the master bedroom renovation? That's when I saw him. A tall man in a navy suit walking around the side of the house, briefcase in hand. He looked completely out of place among the barbecue crowd, and he was scanning faces like he was looking for someone specific. His eyes found mine, and he nodded slightly. Lucas. Excuse me, he called out, his voice cutting through the chatter. I'm looking for Rachel Kelly. Rachel's head snapped up from where she'd been showing off her new patio furniture. That's me. Can I help you? Lucas walked straight through the crowd, people stepping aside automatically. There was something about his presence that demanded attention. I'm Lucas George, attorney for the estate of Clara Williamson. I need to speak with you about this property. The yard went dead silent. Rachel's smile faltered. I'm sorry. What? The estate's been settled. I have all the paperwork. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. Lucas opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Mrs. Williamson updated her will 6 months before her death. The previous will you're operating under has been superseded. Madison stepped forward, wine sloshing. That's impossible. I would have known. The new will was properly executed and witnessed, Lucas continued, his voice carrying easily across the silent crowd. And according to its terms, this property belongs to Selah Williamson. Every head turned to look at me. I stayed perfectly still, watching Rachel's face cycle through confusion, denial, and finally, rage. That's ridiculous, Rachel snapped. Selah can't afford this house. She doesn't even have a real job. Nevertheless, Lucas said, extending the folder toward her, you are currently trespassing on her property. I reached into my purse and pulled out a set of keys, Clara's keys, the ones I'd kept when I moved out. I'd been carrying them for 2 weeks, waiting for this moment. The metal caught the afternoon sunlight as I held them up. I think it's time for everyone to leave, I said, my voice steady and clear. The party's over. Rachel's face went white. You can't be serious. I walked past her, past my mother's shocked expression, past Judah's open mouth, and up the porch steps to the front door. The key turned smoothly in the lock. 30 minutes, I called over my shoulder. Then I'm calling the police. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me, leaving them all standing in the yard like the trespassers they were. The house was quiet, different, but still Clara's at its bones. I walked through the rooms slowly, taking inventory of what they'd changed, what they'd thrown away. In Clara's old bedroom, now Rachel's master suite, I found something they'd missed. A small drawer in the antique writing desk, painted over but still there, on it in Clara's faded handwriting. Not everything is what it seems. C. The drawer was locked, but Clara had always hidden spare keys in the same place, inside an old tea tin on her dresser. Rachel had left the tin, probably thinking it was worthless. The tiny brass key fit perfectly. Inside were three leather-bound journals, their pages yellowed with age. The top one fell open to an entry dated just 2 months before Clara died. Madison came by today asking about the will again. She doesn't know I changed it. Neither does Rachel. They think I'm a foolish old woman who doesn't see what's happening. But I see everything. I always have. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. Decades of entries going back to when I was a child. Clara's careful handwriting documenting every slight, every cruel comment, every time my family had pushed me aside. Salah's birthday today. She turned 8. Madison didn't even call. Rachel got a pony for her birthday last month. Salah got a card from the dollar store. Found Salah crying in the garden again. Madison told her she was too sensitive and needed to toughen up. That child has more strength in her little finger than Madison has in her whole body. Rachel came by with college brochures today. Full ride to State University, she says. Meanwhile, Salah is working 2 jobs just to afford community college. Madison acts like this is natural, like some children just deserve more. I sank into Clara's old reading chair, the journals spread across my lap, page after page of observations, of quiet fury, of love for a granddaughter who'd been treated like an afterthought her entire life. Then I found the list. It was tucked between the pages of the most recent journal, written in Clara's shaking handwriting from her final weeks. At the top, in bold letters, debts owed. Madison, 35 years of cruelty to an innocent child. Rachel, a lifetime of arrogance and entitlement. Judah, you'll see. Below that, in smaller writing, the next betrayal will come from Judah. I hope you're ready. My phone buzzed. A text from Cora. Holy shit, did you really just kick Rachel out of her own barbecue? It's all over Facebook. I called her back. Salah, girl, what is happening? Jenny Morrison posted a video of you walking into that house with keys like you owned the place. I do own the place. Silence, then. What? Clara left me the house. The real will, not the fake one they've been using. I just found out 2 weeks ago. Oh my God, oh my God. Do you know what this means? That I have a house? No, Sella. It means you have power. For the first time in your life, you have something they want and can't take away. After I hung up, I kept reading. Clara had documented everything. Madison's drinking, Rachel's marriage problems, even financial details I'd never known about. According to her notes, Judah's construction company was hemorrhaging money. Rachel's perfect life was built on credit cards and loans. Rachel thinks no one knows about the second mortgage, or the credit card debt, or the fact that Judah hasn't paid taxes in 3 years. She's so busy looking down on everyone else, she can't see her own house is on fire. I found photos tucked between the journal pages. Old ones mostly, but a few recent ones that made my breath catch. Pictures of Judah coming and going from places he shouldn't be, with people he shouldn't be with, including my mother. The timestamp on one photo was from last month. Judah and Madison sitting in his truck outside some motel on the highway, her hand on his face, his mouth on hers. I stared at that photo for a long time, pieces clicking into place. Madison's sudden interest in Rachel's inheritance, her insistence that the house go to Rachel instead of me. Judah's toast today, thanking me for doing what needed to be done while he screwed my mother behind his wife's back. My phone rang. Rachel. Pick up your phone, Selah. We need to talk. We're talking now. Not like this. Face to face. This is insane. You can't just steal someone's house. I didn't steal anything. Clara left it to me. That's impossible. I have the will. I have documentation. You have the old will. Clara made a new one. Why would she do that? Rachel's voice was getting shrill. I'm the one with the family. I'm the one who can actually maintain a property like this. Maybe she got tired of watching you treat me like garbage. I never. Rachel. I cut her off. I found Clara's journals. The line went quiet. She wrote everything down, every cruel comment, every time you made me feel small, every time Madison chose you over me. 35 years of documentation. Selah, you're being dramatic. We're family. No, we're not. Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. What do you want? Money? I can give you money. I looked around Clara's bedroom, at the journals spread across her quilt, at the photos of my mother kissing my cousin's husband. I want what's mine, and I want you to understand that actions have consequences. What's that supposed to mean? You'll find out. I hung up and went back to reading. There were more secrets in these journals, more ammunition than I'd ever dreamed of. Clara had been watching, documenting, preparing for this moment. At the very back of the final journal, I found one last note. If you're reading this, it means they showed their true colors after I died. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from them while I was alive, but I can protect you now. Use everything in here. They've earned what's coming. The family meeting was Madison's idea. She called it an intervention, like I was some kind of addict who'd lost touch with reality. They gathered at Rachel's rental house, a cramped two-bedroom that was a far cry from Clara's spacious home, and summoned me like I was a child being called to the principal's office. I arrived with Lucas and a briefcase full of documentation. This is ridiculous, Madison announced before I'd even sat down, bringing a lawyer to a family discussion. This stopped being a family discussion when you tried to steal my inheritance, I replied, taking a seat at Rachel's kitchen table, the same table where she'd probably planned this whole charade. Rachel sat across from me, her perfect makeup unable to hide the dark circles under her eyes. Judah lurked by the coffee maker, avoiding eye contact. My cousin Beatrice sat in the corner, looking uncomfortable but curious. Selah, Madison began, using her fake sweet voice. We're concerned about you. This obsession with the house isn't healthy. Clara was old, confused. That will you're claiming exists is legally binding and properly executed, Lucas interrupted, sliding a copy across the table, witnessed by two independent parties and notarized, unlike the previous will, which has several irregularities. Rachel snatched the papers. What irregularities? For starters, your grandmother's signature on the will you've been using doesn't match her signature on any other legal documents from the same time period. It appears to have been forged. The room went dead silent. That's impossible, Madison stammered. I watched her sign it. Did you? Lucas pulled out another folder. Because, according to the medical records I've obtained, Clara was in the hospital with pneumonia on the date this will was supposedly signed. She was sedated and on a ventilator. Judah finally spoke up. Maybe the date's wrong. Paperwork gets mixed up. The notary's records show the same date. Either Clara signed this will while unconscious in the ICU, or someone forged her signature. Lucas looked directly at Madison, which would be a felony. You're bluffing, Rachel said, but her voice shook. I opened my own folder and pulled out photocopies of Clara's journal entries. Grandma wrote about the will change. She wrote about why she changed it. She also wrote about a lot of other things. I slid one page across the table. Rachel's face went white as she read Clara's neat handwriting. Rachel came by again today, asking about money. She thinks I don't know about the credit cards, the second mortgage, the tax liens. She thinks I'm a foolish old woman. She knew everything, I said quietly. Your financial problems, your marriage problems, everything you thought you were hiding. My marriage is fine, Rachel snapped, but Judah shifted uncomfortably behind her. Is it? I pulled out another page. Because Grandma was pretty observant. She noticed patterns, like how Judah's truck was parked at the Sunset Motel every Tuesday afternoon, how he was always working late on the same nights Madison had her book club. Madison's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. You're making this up, Rachel said, but she was looking at Judah now, pieces clicking together. Am I? I reached into my briefcase and pulled out one of the photos Clara had hidden in her journals. The one of Judah and Madison in his truck, her hand on his face, his mouth on hers. Rachel grabbed the photo, stared at it, then looked up at her husband. What is this? Judah opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Rachel, I can explain. Explain what? Explain why you're kissing my aunt? Explain why you've been lying to me? It's not what it looks like, Madison said quickly. We were just what? Rachel's voice was rising. Just screwing behind my back while you convinced me to steal from Sela? Nobody stole anything. Madison protested. That house should have gone to you. You have children, a family. A family? Rachel laughed, but there was no humor in it. My husband is cheating on me with my aunt. My kids barely know me because I'm always working to pay off debt. And you convinced me to forge a will to steal from my cousin. What family? Beatrice cleared her throat. Maybe we should all calm down. No, Rachel cut her off. I want to hear this. I want to hear how long this has been going on. Judah ran his hands through his hair. Rachel, please. How long? 6 months, Madison whispered. 6 months. Rachel repeated the words like she was testing how they tasted. 6 months you've been screwing my husband, and then you had the nerve to tell me I deserved Clara's house more than Selah. You do deserve it more, Madison insisted. Look at her. She's 35 and single, no children, no real career. Stop. The word came out harder than I'd intended. Just stop. I stood up, gathering my papers. You want to know why Clara left me the house? It wasn't because I'm perfect. It wasn't because I have more money or a better life. It was because I was the only one who loved her without wanting something in return. I looked around the room at their faces. Madison's defiant, Rachel's shattered, Judah's guilty, Beatrice's shocked. I spent 3 months watching the strongest woman I knew waste away to nothing. I held her hand through chemo. I cleaned up her vomit. I slept on her couch so she wouldn't be alone. And where were all of you? Nobody answered. Clara left me the house because I earned it. Not through blood, or marriage, or manipulation, but through love. And if you can't understand that, then you never knew her at all. I walked toward the door, then turned back. Oh, and Rachel, you might want to check your credit report. According to Clara's notes, Judah's been using your social security number for some interesting purchases. I left them there, in that cramped rental house, with their lies and their broken family and their shattered illusions. Beatrice caught up with me in the parking lot. Selah, wait. I turned around. She looked shaken, older somehow. You know something else, don't you? She said. Something you haven't told them yet. I smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. Oh, Beatrice, I know everything. The charity gala was Rachel's biggest social event of the year. She'd been planning it for months, back when she thought she owned a 4-bedroom house and had a stable marriage. Now she was scrambling to maintain appearances while her world crumbled. I wasn't invited, of course, but Cora was covering it for the local paper, and she'd agreed to be my eyes and ears. Are you sure about this? She asked over the phone the morning of the gala. Once this gets out, there's no taking it back. I'm sure. And you're okay with the collateral damage? Rachel's kids are going to see this eventually. I paused. The kids were innocent in all this. But their mother had spent years making my life miserable, and their father was cheating with my mother. Sometimes collateral damage was unavoidable. Rachel should have thought about her kids before she decided to forge a will and steal from family. The photos went live on social media at exactly 8 p.m., right when the gala would be in full swing. Not just the one of Judah and Madison kissing. I'd found more in Clara's collection. Judah coming out of a casino at 2 a.m., Judah meeting with men in expensive suits who looked like they weren't discussing construction projects, Judah withdrawing cash from ATMs using cards that didn't belong to him. Cora called me at 8:30. Holy shit, Selah, it's chaos here. Rachel just saw the photos on her phone and dropped her wine glass right on the mayor's wife. Judah's nowhere to be found. Apparently he got a call and bolted. What about Madison? She's here, trying to act like nothing's wrong, but people are staring. Someone printed out the photos, and they're being passed around like party favors. I was at Clara's house, stripping wallpaper in what used to be the guest room. The physical work felt good, therapeutic. Each strip I pulled away revealed the original walls underneath, solid, honest, built to last. Rachel's leaving, Cora continued. She's trying to hold it together, but she's crying. People are following her out to the parking lot with their phones. Good. Damn, girl. Remind me never to cross you. The next morning, I was painting the guest room when someone pounded on my front door. I opened it to find Rachel, still in last night's dress, mascara streaked down her cheeks. You destroyed me, she said. No, I didn't. You destroyed yourself. My kids saw those photos. My neighbors, my clients, everyone I work with. They all saw them. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to steal from me. She pushed past me into the house, looking around at the restoration work I'd been doing. This is insane. You're gutting Clara's house. I'm restoring it. There's a difference. She loved this wallpaper. She loved the way everything looked. She loved the house. The wallpaper was just covering up what was underneath. I gestured to the exposed brick wall I'd uncovered. Sometimes you have to strip away the pretty lies to find what's real. Rachel's phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face crumpled. What now? I asked. Judah's been arrested. Tax evasion and fraud. They're saying he owes over $200,000. She looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Did you know? Clara knew. She documented everything. Why didn't she tell me? Would you have listened? Or would you have found a way to blame me for that, too? Rachel sank into Clara's old armchair, one of the few pieces of furniture I'd kept. I don't understand how this happened. We were supposed to be the successful ones, the ones with the perfect life. Your life was never perfect, Rachel. You just got really good at pretending it was. My phone rang. Unknown number. Selah? The voice was female, younger than mine. This is Tatum, Rachel's sister. I'd heard about Tatum, but never met her. The black sheep of the family, the one who'd moved away and never looked back. I heard about what happened at the gala, Tatum continued, and about the house. I think we need to talk. About what? About the original will, and about your mother. There are things you don't know, things Clara never told anyone. Rachel looked up sharply. Is that Tatum? I nodded. Tell her I don't want to talk to her, Rachel said. She abandoned this family years ago. Actually, Tatum's voice came through the phone, I left because I found out some things about this family that made me sick. Things about Madison, things about you, Rachel, and things about Selah that are going to change everything. What kind of things? The kind that explain why Madison always treated you differently, why Clara was so protective of you, why you never really fit in with the rest of us. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. What are you talking about? I'm driving down from Atlanta. I'll be there tomorrow. And Selah? I'm bringing proof. The line went dead. Rachel was staring at me. What did she mean? You never fit in with the rest of us. I don't know. But even as I said it, I was thinking about all the little things that had never made sense. Why I looked nothing like Madison. Why Clara had always been so fiercely protective of me. Why Madison's cruelty had always felt so personal, so targeted. That evening, I found a package on my doorstep. No return address, just my name written in block letters. Inside was a DNA test kit and a note. I'm not who I thought I was, neither are you. Test results take 3-5 days. We'll compare when I get there. I stared at that test kit for a long time, turning it over in my hands. Some doors, once opened, could never be closed again. But I'd come this far. I'd already burned down everything I thought I knew about my family. What was one more fire? The DNA results came back on a Thursday. I stared at the email for 10 minutes before opening it, my coffee growing cold on Clara's kitchen table. Maternal match, 0% probability. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. Madison wasn't my mother. Biologically, we shared no DNA at all. My phone rang. Tatum. Did you get your results? Yeah. My voice sounded strange, distant. Madison's not my mother. I know. Mine came back yesterday. We're half-sisters, Selah. Same father. The kitchen spun around me. That's impossible. I'm pulling into your driveway now. We need to talk. Tatum looked like a younger, softer version of Rachel, but with kind eyes and laugh lines that suggested she'd found happiness somewhere far from this family. She carried a manila envelope thick with documents. I've been digging into this for 3 years, she said, settling into Clara's kitchen. Ever since I found some old letters in my mother's things after she died. She pulled out a photograph, black and white, creased with age, a young man in military uniform standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. The woman was holding a baby. That's our father, Robert, and that's your real mother, Elena. She was Clara's housekeeper. I picked up the photo with shaking hands. The woman was beautiful, with dark hair and eyes that looked exactly like mine. Elena worked for Clara for 2 years. She and Robert had an affair. When she got pregnant, Clara helped hide it from the family. Why? Because Robert was married to Madison by then, and because Elena was undocumented. If the family had found out, they would have had her deported. Tatum pulled out more documents. Birth certificates, immigration papers, letters written in Spanish. Elena died when you were 2. Car accident. Clara had been helping support her, and when she died, Clara convinced Madison to raise you as her own. Madison agreed to that. For a price, Clara paid off Madison's gambling debts and bought her that house on Maple Street. In exchange, Madison would raise you and never tell anyone the truth. I stared at the documents, pieces of my life rearranging themselves like a puzzle I'd been trying to solve for 35 years. But Madison hated me. She made my life miserable. Because every time she looked at you, she saw Robert's betrayal. She saw the woman he chose over her, even if it was just for a few months. Tatum's voice was gentle. Clara tried to protect you, but she couldn't be there all the time. How do you know all this? Because Clara told me. Right before she died, she called me in Atlanta. She said she was changing her will, and she wanted me to know why. She said if anything happened to her, if Madison and Rachel tried to take what belonged to you, I should tell you the truth. I laughed, but it came out bitter. So I'm not even part of this family. I'm just some bastard child they got stuck with. No. Tatum's voice was firm. You're Clara's granddaughter in every way that matters. She chose you. She loved you. She protected you your whole life, and she made sure you'd be protected after she was gone. She pulled out one more document, a letter in Clara's handwriting. She wrote this for you, asked me to give it to you when you were ready. My hands shook as I unfolded the letter. My dearest Sella, if you're reading this, it means Tatum has told you the truth about your mother. I'm sorry I never told you myself. I wanted to protect you from the pain of knowing how unwanted you were by some people in this family. But you were never unwanted by me. From the moment Elena placed you in my arms, you were my granddaughter. Not by blood, but by choice. By love. Your mother was a remarkable woman. She was kind, intelligent, and brave enough to leave everything she knew to build a better life. She would be so proud of the woman you've become. I know Madison was cruel to you. I know she made you feel small and worthless. But she was wrong. You are worth everything. You are my legacy, not because of what you inherited, but because of who you are. The house is yours because you earned it. The money is yours because you deserve it. And the truth is, yours because you're strong enough to handle it. Love always, Grandma Clara. P.S. Check the emergency fund account. There's more than you think. I wiped tears from my cheeks. What emergency fund? Tatum smiled. Clara set up an account for you when you were 5. She's been putting money in it for 30 years. Last I heard, it was worth about $140,000. What? She wanted to make sure you'd never be dependent on Madison or anyone else in this family. She wanted you to have choices. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is FBI Agent Martinez. We need to speak with you about Judah Kelly and potential financial crimes. Can you come in tomorrow? I showed the text to Tatum. She whistled low. Looks like Judah's problems are bigger than tax evasion. Good. Let him burn. What about Rachel and Madison? I thought about that for a moment. Rachel was broke, humiliated, and facing divorce. Madison was exposed as a cheater and a liar. Their perfect little world had crumbled. They made their choices. Now they get to live with the consequences. Tatum nodded. So what's next for you? I looked around Clara's kitchen, my kitchen now, at the house that was finally, legally, undeniably mine, at the documents proving I was exactly who Clara had always told me I was, worthy of love, worthy of protection, worthy of a legacy. I'm going to turn this place into something beautiful, something that helps other women who've been thrown away by their families. A shelter? An artist residency for women starting over, women who need a safe place to rebuild their lives. Tatum smiled. Clara would love that. Yeah, I said, folding the letter carefully. She would. The break-in happened at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I woke to the sound of glass breaking downstairs and found Rachel in my kitchen, rifling through drawers with a flashlight. Looking for something? I asked, flipping on the lights. She spun around, wild-eyed and desperate. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled like she'd been sleeping in them. Where are they? She demanded. Where are what? The journals. The photos. All of Clara's lies about my family. Those aren't lies, Rachel, and they're not yours to take. She lunged toward the stairs, probably heading for Clara's old room. I stepped in front of her. Get out of my house. This should have been my house, she screamed. I had plans. I had a life. You destroyed everything. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped letting you steal from me. She shoved me hard. I stumbled backward, catching myself on the kitchen counter. That's when I called 911. I need police at 847 Magnolia Street. Someone's broken into my home. Rachel's face went white. Salah, please, don't do this. I'm desperate. Judah's in federal prison. I'm losing the rental house. My kids should have thought about your kids before you decided to break into my house at 2 a.m. The police arrived in 6 minutes. Rachel was arrested for breaking and entering, criminal trespass, and assault. As they led her away in handcuffs, she looked back at me with pure hatred. This isn't over, she said. Yeah, it is. The court hearing was scheduled for the following month. Madison tried one last desperate play, filing a motion claiming I was mentally unstable and had manipulated Clara into changing her will. She brought a psychiatrist who'd never met me to testify about my obvious psychological issues. Lucas destroyed her case in 20 minutes. Your Honor, he said, standing with a thick folder of evidence, the plaintiff's claims are not only baseless, they're contradicted by extensive documentation. He presented Clara's journals showing 30 years of careful observations and sound mental faculties right up until her death. He brought in Dr. Martinez, Clara's actual physician, who testified that she'd been mentally sharp until the very end. Then he brought in Tatum. I spoke with Clara Williamson 2 weeks before her death, Tatum testified. She was lucid, articulate, and very clear about her reasons for changing her will. She said Madison had treated Sela cruelly for decades, and Rachel had shown herself to be greedy and manipulative. Madison's lawyer tried to object, but the judge allowed it. She also told me about the forged will. Tatum continued. She said Madison had tried to pressure her into leaving everything to Rachel, and when Clara refused, Madison forged her signature on an old document. The judge looked directly at Madison. Mrs. Madison, are you aware that will forgery is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison? Madison's face went ashen. Her lawyer whispered something urgent in her ear. We'd like to withdraw our motion, Your Honor. Motion denied. I want to hear the rest of this testimony. Beatrice took the stand next. She'd found her courage somewhere between Rachel's arrest and this moment. Madison asked me to lie, she said quietly. She wanted me to say that Clara was confused, that she didn't know what she was doing, but that wasn't true. Clara was sharp as a tack right up until she died. And why didn't you agree to lie for Madison? Because Selah's the only one who actually took care of Clara. She deserves that house. She earned it. The final blow came when Lucas presented the FBI's findings on Judah. Not only had he been evading taxes and committing fraud, but he'd been using Rachel's identity to take out loans and credit cards. The federal investigation had uncovered a paper trail showing Madison had helped him, providing family financial information and even co-signing some documents. Your Honor, Lucas said, this isn't just about a house. This is about a pattern of financial crimes and family manipulation that goes back years. The judge ruled entirely in my favor. Not only did I keep the house, but Madison was ordered to pay my legal fees and face potential criminal charges for will forgery and fraud. As we left the courthouse, Madison grabbed my arm in the parking lot. You've destroyed this family, she hissed. I pulled free from her grip. No, Madison, I just stopped letting you destroy me. You think you've won? You think having that house makes you better than us? I don't need to be better than you. I just need to be free of you. She raised her hand like she was going to slap me, but Lucas stepped between us. I wouldn't recommend that, Mrs. Madison. Assault charges would be the least of your problems right now. She dropped her hand and walked away, her shoulders shaking with rage or tears or both. 3 months later, I used Clara's emergency fund to start the renovations. The house was going to be beautiful, not the sterile showcase Rachel had tried to create, but a warm, welcoming place where women could rebuild their lives. I kept Clara's rose garden and restored her reading nook. I turned the guest rooms into artist studios and the basement into a common area with a kitchen and library. The first resident moved in on a Thursday, a painter named Sarah whose family had disowned her for leaving an abusive marriage. She stood in the doorway of her studio, tears streaming down her face. I can't pay much, she said. You don't need to pay much. You just need to create something beautiful. By the end of the month, I had 3 residents. By the end of the year, there was a waiting list. Madison left town quietly, moving in with a sister in Florida. Rachel was working at a department store, trying to rebuild her credit and her relationship with her kids. I didn't feel sorry for either of them. Some people called it revenge. I called it justice. Sometimes they're the same thing. The tea service was set for 6, but only 4 of us sat around Clara's old garden table. Sarah, the painter, had her easel set up nearby, working on a canvas that captured the late afternoon light filtering through the restored rose garden. Maya, a writer escaping a controlling family, sat with her laptop, finally working on the novel she'd dreamed about for years. Tatum had driven down from Atlanta for the weekend, and Beatrice had surprised me by asking if she could join us. "This is nice," Beatrice said, stirring honey into her tea. "Peaceful." "It's what Clara always wanted," I replied. "She used to say this garden was where broken things came to heal." Sarah looked up from her painting. "Speaking of healing, did you see the article about Rachel in the paper?" I shook my head. I'd made a point of not following Rachel's life after the court case. "She's in therapy," Sarah continued. "Group counseling for people dealing with family trauma and financial abuse. Apparently, she's been talking about how she never realized how toxic her marriage was until everything fell apart." "Good for her," I said, and meant it. Maya closed her laptop. "Do you ever wonder if you went too far? With the photos and the public humiliation?" "No." The answer came without hesitation. "She spent 35 years making me feel worthless. She forged a will to steal from me. She deserved every consequence she got. But her kids are better off knowing the truth about their father, and they're better off with a mother who's finally getting help instead of pretending everything's perfect." Tatum reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Clara would be proud of what you've built here." The sound of a car door slamming interrupted our quiet afternoon. I looked up to see Cora walking around the side of the house, waving an envelope. "Mail delivery," she called out. "This came to the newspaper office addressed to you, forwarded from some law office in California." I took the envelope, recognizing the return address immediately. Robert, my biological father. "You don't have to read it now," Tatum said gently. "No, it's okay." I opened it carefully, unfolding 2 pages of careful handwriting. "Dear Sella, I heard about Clara's passing and about the legal battle over her house. Tatum reached out to me and told me you know the truth now about your mother and about our relationship. I want you to know that leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Not because I regret Elena, she was the most remarkable woman I ever met, but because I was too much of a coward to fight for you. I let Madison convince me that you'd be better off without me, that a stable home was more important than having a father who loved you. I was wrong. I should have fought for you. I should have protected you from Madison's cruelty. I should have been there for every birthday, every school play, every moment you needed someone in your corner. I know it's too late to be your father now, but I want you to know that I've followed your life from a distance, and I'm incredibly proud of the woman you've become. Clara used to send me updates. Your college graduation, your freelance work, the way you cared for her in her final months. She always said you had your mother's strength and kindness. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that you were never unwanted. You were loved, even by the father who was too weak to claim you. I hope you find peace in that beautiful house. I hope you fill it with the love and laughter it deserves. With all my regret and all my love, Robert I. P.S. I've enclosed a photo of Elena holding you when you were 6 months old. Clara sent it to me years ago. I thought you should have it. I pulled out the photograph with trembling hands, a young woman with my eyes and my smile holding a baby who was reaching up to touch her face. On the back, in Clara's handwriting, Elena and Sella, Christmas 1989. Pure love. "She's beautiful," Sarah said softly, looking over my shoulder. "You look just like her." "Yeah," I whispered. "I do." A knock on the front door interrupted the moment. I walked through the house, past the studios where women were rebuilding their lives, past the kitchen where we shared meals and stories, to the front porch where a young woman stood with a toddler on her hip. She was maybe 25, with tired eyes and a nervous smile. Her clothes were clean but worn, and she clutched a piece of paper in her free hand. "Are you Selah?" she asked. "Yes. I heard you help women like me, women who need a place to start over." She shifted the child to her other hip. My family kicked me out when I left my ex husband. They said I was being dramatic, that I should have tried harder to make it work. But he was. She trailed off, looking down at her son. It wasn't safe for us there. I looked at this young mother, standing on my porch with nothing but hope and a baby, asking for the same thing I'd been searching for my whole life. Someone who would see her worth, someone who would give her a chance. What's your name? Jessica, and this is Tommy. Tommy waved a chubby hand at me and babbled something that might have been, "Hi." I stepped back and opened the door wider. "Come in, Jessica. Let me show you around." She stepped inside, looking around at the warm, welcoming space I'd created from Clara's house, at the art on the walls, painted by women who'd found their voices here, at the books on the shelves written by women who'd found their stories here. "Is it true," she asked, "that you really help people start over?" I thought about Clara, who'd given me a home when I had nowhere else to go, about Elena, who'd loved me enough to give me life, about the long journey from being the unwanted granddaughter to becoming the woman who opened doors for others. "I don't keep people," I said, echoing Clara's words from so long ago. "I give them keys." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're ready to leave because you've built something better." As I led her upstairs to show her the available room, I heard laughter from the garden where my chosen family was still having tea. The sound drifted through the house like music, filling every corner with warmth. This was Clara's real legacy. Not the house itself, but what it had become. A place where broken things came to heal. A place where women who'd been told they weren't worth anything could discover their own value. I'd started this journey wanting revenge. I'd ended it creating something beautiful. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. And sometimes living well means making sure others get the chance to do the same.